In today's video, we're going to make some chubby penguin cards for Christmas in July. Hi, I'm Stacy. Welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy and are inspired to create. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm using a stencil from Simon Says Stamps. I'm going to go ahead and mask off the areas that I don't want to put embossing ink through. You can use ink, paste, glue, glitter, whatever it is. And if you want to do the entire stencil, you would put it through the entire stencil. But I want just a little section here of this star. And so I'm just using some post-it tape and post-its. And right now that stencil, the star's upside down. And then I realize it and I flip it over. And then I'm going to mask off the remainder. But first I'm putting some, that's an embossing buddy tool. Basically it's anti-static powder so that you don't get stray embossing powder everywhere. And then I'm just using the ink pad to push it right through. You could use a applicator like a sponge dauber or, you know, a makeup sponge. You could even use a brush. And I went ahead and heat embossed this, and then there's a little section that didn't go through the finer slit of the stencil, and so I'm just using some two-way zig glue, like a glue pen, and drawing those lines in. I'm going to pour some embossing powder on it and heat it up. So Christmas in July, it's just a way to help you get jump started on your Christmas projects, because I know during the holiday seasons we all get busy with other things, and so it just makes time to create for that. There are a lot of hashtags out there. There are a lot of people participating in it. So just put it in your search bar and look it up, and you'll find lots of different creations. It's not all just paper craft. And I went ahead and used some distress inks here. This is just some heavyweight cardstock. I think this is Nina 80-pound cardstock that I'm doing this on. And then I'm just blending, and I'm going, and I went in with my lightest color. I'm going to blend right over the heat embossed star there, because we can wipe the ink off later, which we'll do. And then I'm just kind of making a vignette around it, darker on the outside. And then I wanted it to look like that star was casting light down to a certain area, like on the card. So that's why I'm not doing it evenly. I just want to make it look like it's lighting all the way down to the ground. And I use this die set from Sizzix. It's a Tim Holtz die set. And then those were cut out with some Lawn Fawn stitch hillside border dies, but use whatever you got. You could even freehand it with scissors. And there's those trees. I cut them out of heavyweight black cardstock, and then we're going to glue them to the background. And then I'll bring in a stamp set, and we're going to color up a little image here to add to this, because this video is all about those chubby penguins, right? Look at, they're like, I think they're called round penguins in the stamp set. And then I'm using just the ink that's left on my brush and blending a shadow that would be cast from the light from the star. And there's the stamp set. I show it in full later, but there's the name. Just look up the stamp set and you'll be able to find it. There is one place here in the US that carries these, and these stamp sets, I believe the larger ones are $19.99 each. So, because they're such a large stamp set, but the images are large, which is really nice if you like to color. And they really take a good presence on your cards on an A2 size card, or even a 5x7, which this is a 5x7 card. And you'll see that. And then I'm just going to color from my darkest to my lightest, and I stamp that out in Memento black ink on Express It blending cardstock, which is a Copic friendly cardstock. And I'm just going to color it up. Are any of you participating in Christmas in July? It feels weird to be making Christmas cards in July, but it's kind of fun too. But then I find myself wanting to do more florals because it seems like in the winter I just don't feel like coloring up florals. So, but yeah, I definitely wanted to get a jump start on Christmas projects. So, and these little penguins were so cute. I got this stamp set from Tina Kappa from Crafty Bean from one of her recent destashes, but she has more going on. She's been doing them every week, I believe on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then sometimes she has a pop-up on the weekends and does some destashes. So if you're interested, go on over to her channel. I haven't bought anything from her last few destashes though. I had bought way too much and haven't had a chance to use it all. So I've been a little bit more selective with what I want to buy. It's hard too, because when you see your destashes, they're so good that you know if you don't act fast, you're not going to get it. So you don't really have time to debate. I'm one of those people that goes to the store and I'll add a bunch of stuff to my cart and then I evaluate it throughout the store many times and end up putting over half of it back. Well, you can't do that with Tina's destashes. It's almost like you just have to decide, and if you want it, you got to message or send her an email and say you want it. Otherwise, it's gone. I used a tip-to-tip method there to blend in between those two grays, and you know, I have the other marker that's in between that. Why I didn't get it out, I don't know. So you can either do the tip-to-tip method, which will create a shade that's in between two different colors, or if it's especially in the grays, they just gradually go from lightest to darkest. I could have just pulled that out. Probably just because I already had the marker set out. And then I put warm grays for the feet and the beak. As you saw, I colored a little the yellow. Some of them have that yellow on their chest, and since it was so round, I kind of went with a half heart shape, and I think it ended up being really cute in the end. And then I'm bringing in some colored pencils here, and I'm going to do some shading, and just it allows you to correct any shading. So pencils have a finer tip to them, so you can get a more detailed, accurate shading portion. With the markers, it's a little bit more difficult. You can add texture with them if you don't blend them out with any solvents, or if you, because the Prismacolor makes like a blending pencil, which I believe is probably just hard wax in it, and it'll push and smooth out and the colors change, which is really neat. If you don't do that, you keep the texture. And so on this one, I didn't use any blending. I may have went in on this one with a white colored pencil, I'm not sure. But it's nice because penguins, they're birds, so they have feathers, so the texture I thought added to the image. And I think these would be fun to even color up in bright colors, like, or pastels, and do them like in a rainbow order. I mean, these penguins are just, they're adorable. And if you don't have access to the stamp set, they're literally just circles. So you could probably, if you have any type of drawing skill, or even if you don't, just find a circle, trace it out, and then add feet, a tail, and a beak, and some eyes, and color it up, and you can make your own penguin. I went ahead and brought in this stamp. It's like it's called Stampin' Cut, so it's got the die cut there for the word joy, and then all these sub-sentiments, and I cut that out of some Pin and Gear white glitter cardstock, and then heat embossed the sub-sentiment onto a piece of black cardstock, and then we're going to put it on there. And then I popped that little penguin up with some foam tape, and I thought it came out so cute. And I show the card at the end in detail, along with this card we're going to make, and there's a third card at the end, which I don't believe I put it in the opening. I didn't color it on camera. I didn't make the card on camera. It is using the penguins, but it's a scene that I freehanded everything else on. So I just put it at the end to share it with you. If you'd like me to do a video on something like it, I can. I do have like the Father's Day card is very similar, where I used the stamped images but created a scene in the background that I freehanded, and that's what I did with the last card. Now, I'm using that same stamp set from the Hobby, was it Hobby Arts, the penguin stamp set, and then I brought in that Hero Arts mistletoe stamp. And we're going to create a little scene here, a real simplified scene, I suppose, right? It'd still be a scene, but it's really simple. And then I'm going to color a little penguin in the same way, but I bring in like blue colored pencils instead of black to shade in the penguin. I do the heart a bit different on the chest. It's the same colors, but when I do the colored pencils, I come back in and it's a little bit different. So, and then we're going to be coloring up that mistletoe as well. These would be cute to do with like birthday too, just because they're so cute and chubby. Like they look like little bouncing balls. And remember, penguins aren't completely white on their chest, so you could actually do this with brown, especially if they're the emperor penguins. As they nest and wait for the mamas to come back, the males when they're carrying their eggs, they are not white anymore because they don't eat for months. While they're caring for the egg, where the mama goes and back to the seed to get food to bring back for when the babies hatch. If you guys have ever seen, what is it, March of the Penguins? It's so interesting what the emperor penguins go through. And it's the male that has the brunt of, caring for that egg. But yeah, their chests aren't white anymore. And neither is the snow around them. So, and then I'm adding shading underneath its beak and its eyes, because eyes would be, they're set in to the skull of the animal or humans, so there would be shadowing there. So that's why I'm putting a little bit of shading around those. And then I'm just coloring up the mistletoe real simply with some greens. It's not realism. I mean, we have like a bouncing ball penguin there, but I did want them to have some interest in the shading, and I go back in with some colored pencils and add some texture too, and a cast shadow, because I think that helped it to like stand up off the card. And then I have a couple more videos I've had recorded and edited. I need to do the voiceovers. Voiceovers are hard, guys. I mean, my life's not interesting. It's boring. I don't have much to talk about. A lot of us that have been making cards for a long time already know a lot of the simple things like stamping, die cutting, that sort of thing. So I try to give you a little bit of info about the coloring that I'm doing. But I know some people who watch my channel don't color, but they enjoy seeing it. My biggest hope is that you're inspired to use what you have and just make something. And I did bring in a violet color there to shade with the yellow, because yellow's complementary color, so it isn't going to be yellow or purple. It'll kind of create kind of a, as you can see, almost like an orangey brown color, but it has that violet undertone hue to it that still comes through, because Copics are transparent, so you can layer them. And I really like the way the purple looks, instead of just using another darker yellow or YR, which are like your yellow reds or oranges, or the earth tones browns. I really like to use the violet under there. I think it just adds more depth and interest to the colored image. And I think I actually take some blue around the outside of the white portion of its body. I thought I really like that, since I'm adding blue to the body itself, like the grays. And you could just use a black colored pencil. I've showed that on my channel before, and shade with that. You could use a graphite pencil, whatever kind of pencil you have around your house too. You don't need artistic pencils. You can use a number 2 and add shading with the Copics. And what's nice about it is you wouldn't have to have a lot of colors. So if you went in with one yellow marker and maybe a gray that you could shade, you know, your pencil on top of, you could do that as well. And I've seen others do it with just a graphite pencil, and oh my goodness, I love the look. So, I mean, I may want to try it someday, but I think we all get in our comfort zone and stay there. I believe this is a blue I'm taking in there. I wasn't looking at the screen. And shading in a bit. And then I wanted to kind of brighten some of those highlight areas, so I'm taking a yellow pencil and just adding a little bit of highlight. It's not going to be super strong. It's not like adding paint or something on top of it. So I think that yellow may be semi-transparent, so it does add a little bit of yellow, but it's not so bold that it covers up what's underneath it, I suppose. That's what I want to say. And here's where I bring in the Gamma-Sol to blend out that cast shadow. And that's just on a cotton ball in a little container. And then I just dab my blending stump in there on that and then blend it out. And I believe I take the Gamma-Sol to the pencil that I just added under there. Yeah, I do. When I made these, I just couldn't help but smile because they're just, like I said, cute. How many times have I said cute in this video? And then I'm using a T-ruler to line up the sentiment so I have a straight sentiment. And then I'm using that little XOXO from Mama Elephant. I stamped it on in red to bring a pop of color. Those are some enamel dots that I got from Simon Says Stamp that I'm adding, you know, little berries. And then I had framed out the card with a piece of red cardstock. I just trimmed, I think, 1/8 of an inch off of each side. So here's the first card we created. And I'm showing you there. I think I went back in with some pencils and added to the heart there. And then here's the second one we made. The round little ball penguin. I wanted to make it look like it's under the mistletoe looking at you stepping because it's lifting its foot like it's walking towards you to give you a kiss. And then here's the one I did off camera. I created this whole little scene where it looks like they're sliding down the hill and the one fell over, I don't know. And the other one's smart, it's wearing its earmuffs trying to stay warm. So I hope you guys like this video. Oh, and I popped up, that penguin's popped up and then I fussy cut around the earmuffs and popped this up again. So it's double popped. And I just drew some trees in the background. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.